Hello everyone and welcome back to our syllogism part. The images used in our slide deck are for educational purposes only. We respect the intellectual property rights of the original creators and owners of these images. If you are the owner of any of the images used in the deck and have any queries or concerns, please contact us at sathi@iitk.ac.in and we shall remove the images. So as my dear friends, as you already know that we have started with the syllogism part of the logical reasoning portion of all the competitive examinations that we tackle. So syllogism becomes a very important point of discussion whenever we are solving questions related to logical reasoning because they encompass around 20 to 25% of the total marks of all the competitive examinations, specifically talking about the logical reasoning portion. तो जैसे आप लोगों को पता है कि सिलोगिज्म एक बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट पोर्शन है जब भी आप लॉजिकल रीजनिंग की बात करते हैं किसी भी कॉम्पिटिटिव एग्जामिनेशन, ना ही सिर्फ क्लैट की बल्कि चाहे वो एसएससी हो, चाहे वो कोई भी कॉम्पिटिटिव एग्जामिनेशन हो जिसके अंदर लॉजिकल रीजनिंग का क्वेश्चंस पुट अप करते हैं, उन लॉजिकल रीजनिंग के पोर्शन में सिलोगिज्म एक बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट पोर्शन होता है. इस पर्टिकुलर लेक्चर सीरीज में we are discussing about the important concepts, types, and tips that are required to solve the syllogism. And we are taking the help of a Venn diagram to understand how we can solve the questions that has been put forward in front of us in the competitive examinations. So far, we have discussed the different types of syllogism. We have discussed what exactly is syllogism. We have discussed the tips pertaining to syllogism. And from previous videos onwards, we are trying to solve those questions which has been asked in previous year question papers of different competitive examinations. So we have compiled important questions and we have tried to solve. We are trying to solve those questions along with you all, so that you can also practice these syllogism. Because if you talk about the ground reality, अगर हम सत्य बात करें तो कॉम्पिटिटिव एग्जामिनेशंस में जब आप लॉजिकल रीजनिंग क्वेश्चंस की बात करते हैं तो इट बिकम्स अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट ऑफ डिस्कशन दैट हाउ वी आर गोइंग टू अप्रोच द क्वेश्चंस दैट विल बी पुट इन फ्रंट ऑफ अस. तो लॉजिकल रीजनिंग, स्पेशली टॉकिंग अबाउट सिलोगिज्म, although it is not a very difficult topic to understand and to solve, but what happens is that if the concepts are not clear, or maybe if you are not able to approach the question in a correct manner, then maybe it will take more than 15 minutes, 30 minutes to solve the whole part of syllogism, which is obviously going to be a very time-taking portion of your all the examinations. तो इसलिए in order to make sure कि आपकी efficiency maintain रहे और आप questions को within a fraction of seconds आप उसको solve कर सके, इसलिए बहुत ही ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाता है कि हम सिलोगिज्म के क्वेश्चंस को ऑन कंटिन्यूअस बेसिस प्रैक्टिस करते रहे. और इसीलिए हमने इस पर्टिकुलर लेक्चर सीरीज में ये इंश्योर करा है दैट व्हाटसोएवर क्वेश्चंस कैन बी पुट फॉरवर्ड इन फ्रंट ऑफ द स्टूडेंट्स, दे शुड प्रैक्टिस अलोंग विद अस सो दैट you can be confident once you approach these questions that how we need to solve all the important questions which is related to syllogism. So the सबसे पहले इस लेक्चर को स्टार्ट करने से पहले हम एक बार क्विक रिवीजन कर लेते हैं जो चीज हम लोगों ने पढ़ रखी है. वी हैव स्टडीड अबाउट द मीनिंग एंड द कॉन्सेप्ट्स ऑफ सिलोगिज्म. हमने बहुत ही अच्छी तरीके से मीनिंग पढ़ा है कि क्या लॉजिकल इन्फेरेंस रहता है बिटवीन द स्टेटमेंट एंड द कंक्लूजन. इट इज व्हाट इज सिलोगिज्म. When we talk about types of syllogism, we have discussed various types of syllogism, starting from categorical syllogism as well as statistical syllogism, and then you have other type of syllogisms that we have already discussed. If you want to understand them in a detailed manner, obviously you can refer to those videos which we have discussed syllogism portion, the types of the syllogism portion. So now in this particular lecture series, we will be continuing with the important questions that we are going to discuss. So right now, if you are able to see the screen shows that there is a question that is in front of you. In the question below, there are 3 statements followed by 2 conclusions, that is 1 and 2. You have to take the 3 given statements to be true. Now, even if this statement doesn't make any sense to you, but still you have to assume that this statement is correct. And based on these statements, you have to derive a logical conclusion based only and only over these statements. My dear friends, आपको पता होना चाहिए कि जब हम भी सिलोगिज्म के क्वेश्चंस को सॉल्व करते हैं तो जो भी स्टेटमेंट दिया जाता है, we have to consider that statement to be the correct one. We cannot say that, sir, for example, if we talk about this particular statement, all rum is whiskey. You know that these are the name of the spirits of the alcohol, the different varieties of the alcohol. But if you try to assume and if you try to understand by the commonly known facts, then you would say, sir, this statement in itself is wrong. Because everybody knows that rum and whiskey are two different varieties of alcohol. But whenever we are going to solve syllogism, we have to ensure that we are not dependent and we are not assuming what we have already understood as a commonly known fact. Rather, whatsoever the statement says, we will have to accept this statement and we'll have to consider that this statement is true. This is a very important point, and I would like you to just keep a note of it, that whenever whatsoever statement has been put forward in front of you, you will have to consider that that statement is true to the best of your knowledge. And based on those statements, we will try to draw a Venn diagram. Why Venn diagram? Because there are various methods by which we can solve syllogism. It is not the only one method. You can use the universal and intersectional method. You can use the assumption method. You can use the different rules that has been provided. But what happens is, from our past experience, what we have gathered as an information is that certain times it is the Venn diagram which is very handy and very efficient in solving the syllogism portion. So we will be sticking to it and we will try to solve the questions based on Venn diagram. And in this particular lecture series, I have created this particular lecture in such a manner that even the solutions has to be verified. Some of the answers that you will be seeing on the screen may be true, may not be true. And that is the main crux of this particular lecture. That is the main aim of this particular lecture series. That is to ensure that every student, whomsoever is going to watch this lecture series and wish to gain insights as to how to solve syllogism, should understand that even the answers that has been put forward in the form of solutions may be wrong. And that is why we have to practice together in order to figure out, in order to analyze that whether these answers as well as the questions are actually correct or not. And if those answers are correct, and if the solution is correct, then we will come to a conclusion which will be same. So based on the statements, there are solutions, and those solutions may be true, may not be true. So it is the responsibility of the student to ensure that they are not solely dependent over the mentor, the coach, to make you give the solutions, but it is rather something where which we will be applying our mind, and rather it will not be a spoon feeding session where which I will be providing you with the questions as well as the solutions, and you will just have to observe the video. No, what our pattern would be that we will be first understanding the statement, and then I will be giving you around 10 to 15 seconds per question to draw the Venn diagram, and then we will analyze. We will analyze along with your Venn diagram that you have drawn and the solution that has been provided, that which Venn diagram is correct. There are chances that the diagram that will be in front of you will be correct. There are chances that the diagram that has been drawn by you will be correct. And then we will just cross verify that whether the statements that has been given is matching the Venn diagram that has been provided in the solution or the diagram that has been drawn by your good self. And after that, once we have drawn the Venn diagram, we will try to check the conclusions, that which conclusion is being inferred through the commonly known statements that has been provided in these questions. हम इन पर्टिकुलर क्वेश्चंस में आपको ना ही सिर्फ सॉल्यूशंस को आपको चेक करना है, बल्कि आपको कंक्लूजन्स भी देखने हैं. तो इसमें बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट है कि स्टूडेंट्स अपने माइंड को अप्लाई करें, ना कि वो सिर्फ डिपेंडेंट रहें जो क्वेश्चंस आपके सामने दिए जा रहे हैं और जो सॉल्यूशंस उसके दिए जा रहे हैं. आपकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है कि आप उन स्टेटमेंट्स के बेसिस पे जो भी क्वेश्चंस आपके सामने रहेंगे, आप पेन और पेपर पे उसके वेन डायग्राम को ड्रॉ करने की कोशिश करें, और उसके बाद हम सॉल्यूशन के वेन डायग्राम को चेक करेंगे ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ द स्टेटमेंट जो लिखे हुए हैं, एंड वी विल ट्राई टू एनालाइज दैट वेदर दिस पर्टिकुलर वेन डायग्राम इज राइट or whether the other Venn diagram is right, which has been drawn by the students. But don't worry, why we are doing this? Because we need that there shouldn't be any spoon feeding, but rather the students should also get involved in this lecture series so that they can be confident, beyond confident, then whenever they are going to solve syllogism, they are 100% sure that what will be the correct answer. So for some of us, it might be a new approach, but this approach has been proven a number of times that this approach has helped the students in understanding and also analyzing and applying their mind in order to get the outcome of the solutions. Okay, so without wasting any further time, let's try to solve this particular question, and we will be sticking in the same manner that we have just described. After reading the questions, I will be giving you 15 seconds. And for that, within 15 seconds, I would request you to draw the Venn diagram. Then we will be switching towards the solution, and we will, by ourselves, by this particular lecture, we will try to analyze whether this statement, the conclusion and the statements are complementing each other or not. And once the conclusions, once the statement as well as the Venn diagram is complementing each other, then we will move towards the conclusion portions, and we will try to analyze whether these conclusions are true or not true. So the first question for today's lecture series is in front of you, which says that the statement says that all rum is whiskey. You have to draw a Venn diagram with one representing rum and the other representing whiskey, circles which are going to represent rum and whiskey. Then one circle that is going to represent beer, and the other circle which is going to represent vodka. I assume that all of you know how to draw the Venn diagram. So I'm now giving you 15 seconds from now in order to start drawing the Venn diagram, and then we will start understanding what could be the correct solution for the same. And your time starts now. So my dear students, I suppose that you have already drawn the Venn diagram for this particular statement. Let's try to figure out what the solution says and whether this solution is right or not. The solution depicts the Venn diagram in such a manner. Let me just quickly... yes. So the first statement says that all rum is whiskey. Whether this Venn diagram that is in front of you is actually representing that all rum is here. This is the circle which is representing rum, and this is the circle which is representing whiskey. This is the circle which is representing, the smaller one is representing vodka, and the bigger one is being represented by beer. Now, the question is, all rum is whiskey. Whether this Venn diagram is actually representing all rum is whiskey, students? No, this diagram is not the correct Venn diagram for the statement all rum is whiskey, because there are certain portion of rum. There are certain portion of rum which is outside the circle of whiskey, which means that some rum, which depicts that some rum is not whiskey, which is not true for statement number 1, which means this Venn diagram, which represents the statement, all rum is whiskey, is not correct. What would have been the correct Venn diagram for this particular statement would have been that there should be a circle which is going to represent rum, and then there should be a bigger circle which should contain the rum and which is whiskey. So this should be the correct Venn diagram for statement number 1. Now statement number 2 says that no whiskey is beer. So now we will take this as the correct Venn diagram for statement number 1. And now let's try to understand what second statement is saying. It is saying that no whiskey is beer. Okay. So what we can do is we can compare this beer, okay, the circle which is representing beer, okay, the bigger circle is beer. This circle is beer. The bigger circle is beer, and the inner circle is vodka. Why is it so? Because in the third statement you see only beer is vodka. So it means, what does that indicate? It indicates that vodka is entirely contained within the beer. And why is it so? Because students, we have already discussed in our previous lecture series that whenever you find the statements like only, we can paraphrase it, or we can also understand it in another way, which suggests that all vodka is beer. Only beer is vodka indicates that vodka is entirely contained within the beer. So when we say only beer is vodka, that means that all vodka is beer. So the beer will be the bigger circle, as it was there in the statement number 1, where the statement suggested all rum is whiskey. And now the third statement, which says that only beer is vodka, can be construed as all vodka is beer. Now all vodka is beer is being represented through this particular diagram, which seems to be correct. So this is the correct diagram and this is the correct diagram. Now the second statement says that no whiskey is beer. The second statement is saying that no whiskey is beer. So this is whiskey, the bigger circle is whiskey, and this outside circle is beer. Now if we compare both the Venn diagram, that we can see that there is no relation between beer and whiskey. This third statement also seems to be correct when we compare these two Venn diagrams. Now the questions that is front of us, that is the question that will be in front of us, would be that this Venn diagram is complementing the statement of the question number 14, yes or no, guys? Yes. Now this Venn diagram is complementing the statement that has been provided under the Venn diagram. Now what we need to do is we need to cross verify the solutions that has been provided in form of the conclusions. The conclusion states no rum is beer. Now let's try to analyze whether no rum is beer according to this Venn diagram. So rum is here and beer is inside. There is no relation between beer and rum. So the first statement seems to be correct, that there is no rum which is beer. Now the second statement, which says that some vodka may be whiskey, let's try to understand whether some vodka can be whiskey or not. So some vodka is within the circle of beer, and it is saying that some vodka can be whiskey. Is it possible, guys? Is there any relation between vodka and whiskey? No, there is no relation between vodka and whiskey. So the second statement is not true. Understood, guys? The second statement is not true. Therefore, only conclusion 1 follows. The answer would be only conclusion 1 follows. I suppose you have understood that how we are trying to figure out that whether the Venn diagram also are resonating or complementing the questions that has been the statement that has been put forward, and only after analyzing whether the Venn diagram is correct or not, we are moving forward and we are trying to figure out the conclusions, whether these conclusions are correct or not, and then based on that only we are trying to get the correct answer. So if you are going to use this approach, if you are going to cross verify whether the Venn diagram as well as the statement are resonating, and post that you are trying to figure out the conclusions, whether the conclusions are being directly inferred through the statements, then your answers will obviously be 100% correct. There is no doubt that your answers might be wrong. Okay, students. So now this was the first question that for this particular today's lecture. Now we will be moving towards the next question. And again, I will be giving you 15 seconds post reading of the statements to draw the Venn diagram, and then eventually we will proceed further and we will try to understand what conclusions can be inferred through those statements. The question is right in front of you, students. Please read the statements. Its first statement says 25.5% of stones are rocks. None rock is sand. Only sands are bricks. And then this is the conclusion. Now I would give you another 15 seconds to draw the Venn diagram, and then we will try to analyze whether the conclusion follows from the statement that has been provided. Your time starts now. My dear students, your time is up. Now we will try to understand that how this particular Venn diagram should look like. Okay, the solution suggests 25.5% of stones are rocks. My dear students, can we infer from this particular Venn diagram where one circle is representing stones and the other circle is representing rocks? And the first statement says 25.5% of stones are rock. This suggests a partial overlap between stones and rock. So whether this particular Venn diagram, which suggests the relation between stones and rock, as suggested in statement number 1, can be understood as correct or not? Can we understand it as correct or not? Yes, this Venn diagram is correct. Now let's move towards the second Venn diagram, the second statement. The first statement is right according to the Venn diagram. Second statement says none rock is sand. None rock is sand means that there is no relation between rock and sand. So is there any relation between rock and sand which is being depicted through this Venn diagram? Is there any circle that is being overlapping between sands and rocks? No. So there is no relation between rocks and sands. So this Venn diagram also infers that the second statement is correct. Now, the third statement says only sands are brick. In the previous questions which it was mentioned that only beer is vodka, what did we do? We converted the statement in the form of all bricks are sand. So this statement which has been put forward in the third statement, which is saying that only sands are bricks, can also be construed as all bricks are sand. So whether the third diagram, which is suggesting the relation between sands and bricks, is it correct according to the third statement, guys? Yes, the statement seems to be correct because that indicates that bricks is entirely contained within the sands. Now, based on these three statements, the Venn diagram seems to be correct. Now, let's try to analyze and let's try to understand whether the statement and the conclusions are following each other, are inferring each other or not. So the first conclusion says that no rock is brick. No rock is brick. No rock is brick. No rock is brick. This is rock and this is brick. Is there any relation between rock and brick? Since there is no relation between, it has been clearly mentioned that no rock is sand. So if anything which is contained within the sand obviously will have no relation with rock also. So the statement which suggests that no rock is brick seems to be correct. So the first conclusion is correct. No rock is brick is actually correct. Now, the second statement says that some stones are sands. So some stones are sands. It is saying that some stones are sands. Can we infer that? Is it possible? Is there any sort of link between sands and stones that we can infer from this particular Venn diagram as well as the statements? My dear students, there is no linkage, there is no relation between sands and stones, meaning which conclusion 2 is not correct. So conclusion 2 is not correct according to the inferences that we have drawn through the Venn diagram as well as through the statement that has been provided, which means that only conclusion 1 is correct. So only conclusion 1 follows. Only conclusion 1 follows, which suggests that answer will be option B. This is option B. Okay, guys, I suppose you were able to understand that how we are trying to come to the conclusions, and not only we are coming to the conclusions in a very clear and precise manner, but we are also cross-verifying our answers by by understanding whether the statements are actually resonating with the Venn diagram or not. So that's why this is how you will be able to remember. आपको याद रहेगा जब भी आप वेन डायग्राम बना रहे होंगे कि whenever there will be any statement which suggests that only sands are bricks, you will immediately understand, okay, it means that all bricks are sands. So whenever कभी भी आपके सामने कोई भी स्टेटमेंट ऐसे आए कि ओनली एक्स आर वाई, सिर्फ एक्स जो होते हैं वो वाई हैं, तो मतलब कि आप इसका हम लोग क्या इसको इन्फर कर सकते हैं कि ऑल वाई आर एक्स, all y are x, and then we will draw the Venn diagram according to the statement that has been provided. I suppose you were able to understand this question. Now again, we will be moving towards the next question, and I will request you all to draw the Venn diagram according to the statements that has been provided, and then we will try to analyze the question and we will try to figure out whether the statement, the Venn diagram and the conclusion follows or not. The question is right in front of you, students. Please try to draw the Venn diagram of the same. The statement says only a few rides are trips. Only a few rides are trips. Then no trips is mountain. All mountains are trees. You have to draw circles representing rides, trips, mountains, trees. 4 circles you have to draw, and your time starts now. Kindly start drawing your Venn diagram, and I will be giving you 15 seconds. Your time starts now. So students, I suppose you must have drawn the Venn diagram according to the statement that has been given. Only a few rides are trips, no trip is mountain, and all mountains are tree. Let's try to analyze that whether the Venn diagram is suggesting the correct statements or not. Only a few rides are trips. Only a few rides are trips means that this suggests that there is a small overlap between rides and trips. Is it true or not in this particular diagram? Rides and trips. Yes, we can infer that there are only few rides which are trips. Now the second statement says that no trip is mountain. So this is the circle which is representing the trips. This is the circle which is representing the mountain. Do we see any relation between trips and mountain? No, we don't see any relation between trips and mountains. Now the other statement says that the third statement says that all mountains are trees. All mountains are trees. So the trees will obviously take the entire the trees will have all the circle which is representing the mountain, and it will be within the ambit of the trees. And now the statement says that all mountains are trees is also correct. So all the 3 statements that has been made in question number 16 has been complemented by the Venn diagram that is in front of you. Now the conclusion needs to be understood. The conclusion number 1, which says that some trees are not trips. Some trees are not trips. Some trees are not trips. Is there any relation between trees and trips? No. So no tree is trip means some trees are not trips is also correct, my dear students. Please understand it in one more time. If we say no tree is trip, we can also say it in such a manner that some trees are not trips, or we can also say it in such a manner that all trees are not trips. because there is no relation between trees and trips from the Venn diagram and for the statement that has been provided. So therefore, the first conclusion which says some trees are not trips seems to be correct. This statement is 100% correct. And please don't get confused that it is saying that some trees are trips. If this would have mentioned that some trees are trips, then this particular conclusion would have not followed, because this particular Venn diagram and the statement suggests that there is no relation between trees and trips. So if that conclusion would have been some trees are trips, then this particular conclusion would have not been correct. But here the conclusion says that some trees are trips, some trees are not trips. I'm so sorry. Some trees are not trips. Therefore, this conclusion is correct. And now, based on the statements and the Venn diagram, we will try to understand, well, all rides being trip is not a possibility. All rides being trips is not a possibility. The very first statement, if you can read, it says that only a few rides are trip. So as you remember, we have already studied during our discussion over the types of syllogism and how to differentiate. We discussed about the complementing pairs, where which if one particular statement has been given, then the other statements cannot be true. If it has been mentioned that all x's are y, then we cannot say that some x are not y. So in the same manner, if we have said that only a few rides are trips, which was the statement itself, we cannot suggest that all rides being trips is not a possibility. All rides being trips, is it possible that all rides being trips cannot be possible? Is not a possibility. So second statement is also correct, because all rides being trips is not a possibility, because it has clearly mentioned that only few rides are trips. So both the statements is true. If these two words has not have been there, then both the conclusion would have been false. So इस particular question से हम लोगों ने क्या समझो students, that even the conclusion has to be read in a very clear, precise and crystal manner. कभी कभी बच्चे क्वेश्चंस को पढ़ते हैं और वो बहुत ही जल्दी कंक्लूजन्स पे पहुंच जाते हैं, कंक्लूजन को वो सही से नहीं पढ़ते और इन द एंड ऑफ द डे वो गलत आंसर मार्क कर देते हैं. तो इसलिए इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट दैट यू रीड द क्वेश्चन, यू रीड द कंक्लूजन, you read the statement at least twice so that you can infer what exactly is the question asking you for. Now, both the statement, although it has been mentioned in a negative sense, are not trips and not a possibility. Still, both the statements are correct. So the answer would be both conclusion 1 and 2 follows. Both conclusion 1 and 2 follows. So I suppose you've understood this question 16 also. And if there is any confusion, you can try to understand this again by the use of the Venn diagram. First statement says only few rides are trips. Few rides are trips, so it cannot be that all rides are trips. The first statement says that all rides being trips is not a possibility. Obviously, it is correct. Some trees are not trips. There is no relation that is between no trip is mountain has been mentioned, and there is no relation between trees and trips. Then obviously it cannot be considered as the statement 1 is also correct, because if it is saying some trees are not trips, and since there is no relation, and which means that no trees are trips, some trees are not trips is also inferred from the statements. Therefore, the answer will be answer D. Now, again, moving forward, there will be another set of questions that will be in front of you, and perhaps it will be the last question for today's lecture. And I will give you again 15 seconds to try to solve that questions. And after you have solved that question, we will try to understand and analyze the solutions, the Venn diagram, and obviously what is the correct conclusion from the given statements that is in front of you. Okay, the statement says, this is the statements. Mostly pets are cats. Only cats are dogs. No cats are rabbits. This is the statement. There will be 4 circles that will be drawn, one representing pets, another being cats. Only cats are dogs. Again, you can infer it as all dogs are cats, and then no cats are rabbits. This can also be inferred. So what you can do, I'm giving you 15 seconds to draw the Venn diagram, and let's try to understand that what will be the correct answer. Okay, so now we are moving forward and we'll try to figure out what can be the correct answer for the same. So this is the Venn diagram. This is the Venn diagram which has been drawn, which suggests that whether the statement is correct or not. I would like you to cross verify whether the statement is correct or not. The first statement says mostly pets are cats. So mostly pets are cats. It is saying mostly pets are cats, but it is not saying that all pets are cats. So when we say mostly, what do we infer, my dear students? We infer that this Venn diagram will be in such a manner there will be majority of the portion which is going to represent paths are going to be overlapping between the circle. This suggests that the set's pest is mostly contained within the sets of cats. But it is what this particular diagram is showing, that all the pets are within cats. So this particular assumption is wrong. What would be the correct diagram for this particular statement? It would have been mostly pets. So the mostly pets will be represented in this particular circle. Let's assume it as P, and then it is suggesting that mostly pets are cats. So this is the bigger circle which is going to represent cats. So I'm really sorry for the for drawing the irregular circle, but I would assume that you will understand this, that inner circle which is with this is okay. Let me do one thing. Let me just draw the circle in two different colors so that it becomes very easier for you to understand. So the first circle, which is going to represent pets. This is how the pets would look like. Okay, so this is P. And then you have cats. So cats can be drawn in this manner. So mostly pets are cats. Now this particular Venn diagram seems to be correct because the statement says that mostly pets are cats, which means mostly contained within the set of C. But there should be some portion. There should be some portion that should not be contained within the circle, within the cat, and should be outside the purview of the circle cats, because it is saying mostly pets are cats. It is not saying that all pets are cats. If it would have said that all pets are cats, this diagram would have been correct. But it is saying mostly pets are cats. So this particular Venn diagram is correct for statement number 1. Now, it is saying that only cats are dogs. So if we say only cats are dogs, what do we infer from this particular statement, my dear guys? What do we infer? That all dogs are cats. All dogs are cats. All dogs are cats means that there can be a chance that there will be a circle within the cats which is going to represent dogs, and which will be within the circle of cats itself. But now the question is there any relation between the pets and the dogs, both being within the ambit of cats? The answer is we cannot say. The reason is, as I have already told you, we have just to stick to with the statements. हमारे को जो statements दिए गए हैं, हमारे को strictly उन पे stick करना है. हम उनके beyond नहीं सोच सकते. तो इसीलिए we will be drawing the Venn diagrams and we will try to understand whether this particular statement can be concluded in such a manner that since the cats are having both pets and dogs, so will there be any overlap or not between the pets and the dogs? It can only be inferred if there would have been any statement which is really in relation to pets and dogs. So we can obviously infer that some pets which are cats, can be dogs, could be a dogs. It is a possibility, but we cannot infer 100% that some pets are dogs also. There can be a possibility because both of them are within the circle of cats, but it is not 100% true. We cannot infer. The reason being there is no statement which is providing us with such relation. Okay, so only cats and dogs. This is the another diagram, and then no cats or rabbits. No cats and rabbits. The third Venn diagram seems to be correct because there is no relation between cats and rabbits. Now, this particular Venn diagram and this particular Venn diagram, along with the second statement, this is first statement, this is second statement, and this is the third statement, seems to be correct. Now, based on these diagrams, we will try to understand that whether the conclusion follows or not. It says some pets are rabbits. Is it possible some pets are rabbits? There is no relation. Then obviously conclusion number 1 doesn't follow, because there is clear indication that pets are within the majority of the pets are within the ambits of cats, and there is no relation between cats and rabbits. So therefore, some pets are cats, and obviously there is no relation which is depicting there is a relation between pets and rabbits. So some pets are rabbits cannot be concluded. All pets being rabbits is not a possibility. All pets being rabbit is not a possibility. This statement seems to be correct because there is no relation between pets and rabbits. There is no relation between pets and rabbits. Therefore, all pets being rabbits is not a possibility. The statement number 2 seems to be correct. The answer for the same would be only conclusion 2 follows. That is your answer D. So the correct answer would be answer D. So my dear students, I suppose you have enjoyed today's lecture. We have tried to solve numerous questions which is in relation to syllogism, and we have tried to understand that even the Venn diagrams can be wrong sometimes. But since we know how to draw the Venn diagrams, we are 100% clear how to draw the Venn diagrams, we can move, we can decide that whether even the conclusion is correct or not based on the Venn diagram. And once you have understood how to draw the Venn diagram, and you can cross verify that the statements and the Venn diagram are resonating and are complementing, you can come to the conclusion very easily just by merely observing the Venn diagram itself. So my dear students, I would like to end today's lecture session right here itself. We will again meet in another lecture where which we will discuss the questions which is related to syllogism, another set of questions that we are going to tackle, in which there will be different concepts, but we will have to apply the same theory, the same concepts, and we will try to figure out the correct answers for the upcoming questions. Okay, guys. So till then, I would like to again thank you all for being present and for listening to and for practicing syllogism questions. And I will again request you to be consistent, be precise, and continue on practicing questions and preparing for your competitive examinations. With this, I would like to take your excuse. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Take care.